EZRA MAM allegedly failed a roadside drug test in the velvet hush of a Queensland midnight, where the river lights of Brisbane shimmer like scattered stars. Can a single breath, clouded by poor choices, extinguish the spark of a prodigy who once lit up the NRL sky? The Pacific Motorway pulsed with the low thrum of late-night travelers, its asphalt ribbon connecting the glitter of the Gold Coast to the quiet suburbs beyond. Just past 1 in the morning, a white Uber sedan drifted across the painted lines, tires whispering secrets it should never have carried. Metal met metal in a slow-motion ballet of ruin, glass blooming outward like frost on a winter window. Emergency beacons painted the scene in urgent crimson and indigo. Paramedics moved with the grace of dancers in a tragedy, tending to a pregnant woman cradling her belly and her driver whose hands shook too violently to hold the phone that might have called for help sooner. From the Uber's crumpled door stepped EZRA MAM, barely 21, eyes wide as the stadium lights he usually commanded, his breath fogging the night in more ways than one. Please like, share, and subscribe for more sport talk content. A roadside officer, torch beam steady as judgment, asked EZRA to blow into the device that measures more than alcohol. The digital numbers climbed, then froze, positive for cocaine. The young Indigenous star's shoulders folded inward, as if the weight of every try he'd ever scored now pressed down in condemnation. Handcuffs gleamed cold under the floodlights, clicking shut with a sound softer than a grand final whistle, yet infinitely louder in its finality. A small crowd of night shift workers and insomniac drivers formed a silent semicircle, phones lowered in instinctive respect. No cheers, no boos, just the collective inhale of a city holding its breath. Inside the divisional van, EZRA pressed his forehead to the cool metal partition. He saw flashes, his grandmother's proud smile when he first pulled on the Broncos jersey, the mural of him sidestepping defenders that now graced a red fern wall, the little cousins who mimicked his flick pass in barefoot backyard games. All of it teetered on the edge of this one exhaled mistake. His manager arrived as the sun bled gold across the horizon, speaking in the hushed tones reserved for hospital corridors and court steps. "We'll face this together," he said, but EZRA only stared at the scuffed floor, tracing invisible patterns that might lead him back to the boy he was before the bright lights taught him invincibility. News of the failed test rippled outward before the tow trucks had even cleared the wreckage. Sunrise radio bulletins carried the update between weather and traffic, each announcer's voice dipping into the same register of sorrow. On X, the hashtag EZRAMAM trended in twin streams, condemnation from strangers, heartbreak from those who remembered his state of origin debut at 19. Indigenous community pages filled with photos of a gap-toothed EZRA holding a tiny NRL trophy at a Cherbourg carnival. Elders posted voice messages in language, urging patience, reminding listeners that shame is a poor teacher compared to story. One auntie wrote, "We don't abandon our kids when the road gets rough. We walk it with them." Road safety advocates, long accustomed to being background noise, suddenly found their pamphlets passed hand to hand in Broncos supporter groups. A Gold Coast high school printed EZRA's smiling face on posters with the caption, "Even heroes need seatbelts and clear heads." The irony stung, but the message stuck. Within the Broncos camp, the mood was funeral quiet. Teammates gathered in the film room not to study opposition plays, but to watch the dashcam loop on mute, each frame a lesson in fragility. Captain Adam Reynolds closed the session with a single sentence. "The game gives second acts, but only if we write them with cleaner ink." This incident threads itself into the broader tapestry of Australian sports reckoning with youth, fame, and substance. It echoes the nights when other Indigenous luminaries, Jonathan Thurston's early brushes, Greg Inglis's public stumbles, forced the code to confront what it asks of its youngest shoulders. Yet it also spotlights the quiet army of mentors now embedded in clubs, cultural advisors who teach that identity is armor, not burden. EZRA's failed test becomes a parable for every parent who ever handed car keys to a teenager still buzzing from weekend glory. It asks what scaffolding we build around talent, not just contracts and coaches, but midnight check-ins, cultural leave, the right to say, "I'm struggling," without losing the jersey. In the hospital corridor, the pregnant passenger, her name Sarah, recorded a 30-second video from her bed, Bandages framed her face, but her voice was steady. I don't hate him. I pray he learns what my baby and I almost lost. The clip was shared 10,000 times before lunch, each repost a prayer bead in a rosary of second chances. Weeks later, Ezra fronted a community forum in his childhood park, the same dusty oval where he first learned to swivel hips and dream big. He spoke without notes. I thought speed was my gift, on the field, in life. Turns out the real gift is knowing when to break. He continued, voice cracking like dry earth before rain. My culture taught me the land carries memory. I want this patch of grass to remember the day I chose truth over excuses, so the kids kicking here tomorrow know falling isn't final. To the circle of wide-eyed juniors, he added, your heroes bleed, your heroes apologize, your heroes come back if you let them. A small boy in an oversized Broncos cap reached out and squeezed Ezra's hand, the gesture worth more than any contract extension. Club sanctions will come, suspensions, fines, mandatory counseling, but the deeper curriculum is being written in quieter classrooms. The cousin who now calls for a lift instead of driving tired, the teammate who deletes the party app, the mother who hides the keys until homework is done. Legacy is not the highlight reel frozen at the moment of impact. It is the slow motion replay of redemption. It lives in the mentor who now rides shotgun with young recruits on night drives, in the reformed policy that funds Indigenous well-being officers, in the mural updated with a new line, speed thrills but safe arrivals heal. This story, still unfolding, whispers that sport's most enduring plays are scored off the field. Ezra Mam's failed breath test is not the end of his song, but the minor key that teaches the melody to resolve. So the next time you watch a Broncos breakout, Ezra bursting through a gap, ball tucked like a promise, remember the night the gap closed on him. Remember Sarah's forgiveness, the elders' patience, the children learning that even lightning can be grounded and still strike twice, and breathe easy. The road forgives those who learn its language. If you want, I can compile this alongside